If you are looking for a title for today's Marriage Clinic podcast, it is 15 signs you should reconsider the marriage. 15 signs you should reconsider the marriage. So come on, let's go. I'm going to talk about these 15 signs, but I need to give a certain caveat. Number one, there will always be people who had some of these signs, got married, and the marriage worked. That's the first thing. Number two, I'm talking about 15 different things. If you have 3 or 4 of them, it can be worked on, and I still think you should go ahead and get married unless they are big issues. If you have up to 7 of them, I wouldn't advise you go ahead getting married. And if you have all 15, I would advise you run for the hills. And for every single point that I raise, you are going to think of somebody you know who had that problem and they got married and the marriage worked. But you must remember that in every situation, there are outliers. Okay? Let me give an example. Most people have to study well to be able to pass an exam. But we've all been in school where we have situations where people do not study and they pass an exam. So it doesn't mean that everybody who does not study will pass an exam. Simple example. All right. So what's the first one? The first one is high levels of criticism, contempt, and defensiveness. High levels of criticism, contempt, and defensiveness. What do we mean? Uncle Josh will explain. When you have a situation where the person you are dating or planning on getting married to is critical about everything you do. If you find yourself asking the person a lot of the time, so is there anything I do you like? Because you go out for a party together, by the time you are driving back in the car, he's asking you, why were you laughing like that with people? What kind of dress was that you wore? It's like he or she has entered the relationship with a chisel and is trying to chisel you into a certain mold that they want. So it is not you they want, there's a certain perception they want, and they want to force you into the mold. And as you remember, we keep saying that you can't fit a square peg into a round hole. So if the person you are with is constantly criticizing you, if the person has contempt for you, where the person is behaving like they are doing you a favor by dating you, or they are doing you a favor by marrying you, or he feels like he is the Prince Charming and he's marrying this poor girl to help her. I asked one guy, why did you marry this lady? He said, I wanted to help her. I said, you should have opened an NGO. We do not marry people to help them. You marry people who can pour into your life. So where you see there's a lot of criticism, where you see there's a lot of contempt, and where you see there's a lot of defensiveness, the person never wants to admit they are wrong. Any issue you raise, they will explain the issue. You can be dating someone who would rather argue for 2 hours than say sorry. Then you know that you have a situation where this may not be the best marriage to go into. So remember, high levels of criticism, contempt, and defensiveness is a major red flag that maybe this relationship should not extend to a marriage.